Brightburn is directed by David Yarovesky and is produced by James Gunn and is written by other people in the Gunn family. And in this movie, Elizabeth Banks, her and her husband, they're trying to conceive a child, but they can't. And when they find an asteroid, a spaceship that comes down from outer space, and they find a baby in it, they decide that they should raise that baby as their own. 10 years later, that kid Brandon, now played by Jackson Dunn, is going through puberty, he's going through some changes, and he realizes that he's starting to develop these powers. His heat vision, super strength sound familiar? Yeah, it's a lot like Superman. In fact, it's supposed to be like Superman. And now when he discovers these powers, it is up to him to decide if he wants to be good or evil. And he chooses evil. And it works. Kind of. Going into this movie, I kind of knew what to expect, a twist on the superhero genre that's not really gonna have a happy-go-lucky ending. That's basically just a very basic premise. What if Superman as a teenager decided to go evil? And yeah, this movie is exactly what I thought it would be. It's a very straightforward movie without that much depth to it. And while that would be okay for a movie that's not trying to break any new boundaries, yeah, that's fine. You did what you wanted to do, and that's it without that much depth. But with Brightburn, I do feel like that there are a lot of missed opportunities that this movie could have had that really could have excelled this movie into be something more, something that really does break the mold of superhero films. But that's not to say that this movie is totally void of anything that's good. There's some good that I do like in this movie. Elizabeth Banks as a mom, I thought she had a pretty good performance, but I do think that the standout actor in this movie, Jackson Dunn, who plays Brandon, I thought that for a teen actor, he did a pretty good job. This is a more dramatic performance, and kid actors are known to not being the best, especially for drama, but I do think that he actually did a very good job since a lot of this movie is held on his shoulders. And in the second half of the movie, when it does go into a little bit more of slasher territory, with Brandon just assigned to kill a bunch of people, I do feel like when they went that extra step for the gore, I thought that the gore was awesome. It was really cool, and it was actually just shocking. I wasn't expecting the movie to go that extra step into that level of blood, but it did, and not expecting it, and I actually quinched up a little bit. There was one moment in particular with glass where I actually almost couldn't look at the screen, and that's rare because I've seen a lot of stuff, I've seen a lot of gruesome stuff, but that actually really made me feel uneasy, and I do have to applaud the movie for that. I applaud the movie for its intention. In this grand scheme of movie theater going experience where many things are just remake or sequels, I really do applaud a low budget movie for just taking that extra step into something that we don't really expect, even if it's not a perfect slam dunk. If it's basic like Brightburn, I do applaud the movie for just attempting, because there are some elements, as I mentioned before, that I really do like in this movie. Also, for a low budget $6 million movie, I thought that visually this movie was actually really good with its visual and practical effects. But no, not everything in this movie works, and I do think that it is just a combination of many elements. One of the elements that actually bothered me is pacing. This is a short movie, it's less than 90 minutes, but as I said before, the second half of the movie does go into slasher territory, and while I love slasher movies, I love just random people getting killed, for some reason it didn't work for me in this movie, because there were several scenes where we have a setup of a character isolated, they have a hint of Brandon coming, Brandon shows up, they try to run away, Brandon stops them, and then Brandon kills them. I get it, and I usually love it when that happens in Scream or Friday the 13th, but for some reason I actually thought it was a bit boring and I wanted the movie to get along with it, even though this movie is, as I said, less than 90 minutes. Maybe it's because I just knew what was going to happen, especially because the movie just repeats the same types of setup scenes over and over again, but for some reason I thought those slasher scenes seemed a bit repetitive and kind of boring. But I think my biggest issue with this movie, why I didn't love it as much as I would have wanted to, is because it's kind of hard to latch on to really anything in this movie that we care about. The main three characters in this movie, Brandon, Elizabeth Banks' character, and the dad, they all have their own different agendas. Brandon's becoming evil. Elizabeth Banks' character, she is the mom who's still trying to protect her kid, and the dad is seeing the truth about Brandon, wants to stop it. And those three characters, I did feel like that for an audience member, it was kind of hard to latch on to any one of them. I didn't know who I want to root for in this movie. Brandon, the main character, you're not supposed to like him. He could have been an anti-hero, but instead he was just a villain, and I didn't like him. Elizabeth Banks' character, she was in denial for most of the movie, and at that point I thought it was kind of annoying, because there are just some parts of the movie where you have to say, I know you're a mom, and you have your mom goggles, but you have to see the truth where your son is evil. I guess the only character I actually did like is the dad, because he saw the truth, and I'm like, that character is right, we should trust that character. But sadly, the dad isn't really a main character in the movie, especially by the end, and therefore we're just stuck with these two characters that personally for me, I didn't really care that much about. And for the characters, there's not that much character development in the movie, because there's no real depth to this movie. Superman as a teenager goes evil, and we just see things happening for the plot, but as characters, they don't really grow as characters themselves. They just grow and develop their opinions based on what's happening in the movie, but I don't feel like that they were actual characters themselves that we understand truly. Because as I said, Elizabeth Banks' character, she has mom goggles, and her development is her getting rid of those mom mom goggles and seeing the truth about Brandon. And Brandon's development, I guess, is just him becoming more evil as the movie goes along. But even his reasoning for being evil to all of these people is kind of vague. I understand one death in particular because it deals with someone at school in which he likes, but there's also a bunch of kids at school who are bullying him, and I feel like the movie could have gone into something with that. But besides that one death, I feel like all the other deaths in this movie are just because he's evil. But I don't feel like that the movie went anywhere with that, and is it because he's being mind controlled by his spaceship, or is it because he's just evil? We don't really know, and the movie doesn't really care. And at a point, I don't really care because this is just a basic movie where I can sit down and try to enjoy. But if the movie wanted to be more than just a simple basic movie that you can turn your brain off for, I feel like character development, especially for Brandon, really would have helped this movie and get me as an audience member attached to these characters, because I wanted to like this movie. And while I do applaud this movie's intention, its visuals, it has good acting, I feel like there's a lot left on the table of what it could have been with its characters, their development, and their motivations. I would definitely be interested in seeing where this franchise would go with different characters if they continued for what they were trying to do. But for Brightburn as itself, I was not really impressed with it as a whole, and so I can say that Brightburn is just meh. So that's Brightburn. What do you guys think? Have you seen the movie? Have you not seen the movie? Whatever you think, put in the comments below. Maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. Thank you so much for watching, and sadly, this is going to be my last continuous review of the summer because I'm about to go out for Los Angeles for the next 2 months, and so I'm not going to be as continuously posting videos as much as I did during the month of May. If I see a screening like I did back at school, maybe I'll review it, but I'm not sure. Hopefully I can, but if you haven't, you can click my last video right over here, and you can click my upcoming video right over here, which I will eventually make. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you next time.